Hi, I'm the 13th Wolfman, and this is the evolution of evil, the 1990s. I know it's been a while since I've done the last one, which was the 1980s, but I took a little bit of, you know, I really like doing this series, and it's really coming to a close. So I'm trying to stretch it out as much as I can. I got the 1990s, I got the 2000s, and I don't think there will be a 2000 teens because we're only into the second year of the, you know. So this is the 1990s, and it's really kind of sad because in 1990, horror films were becoming more camp, less horror. A lot more jokes were being put into them, and they were trying to take out all the gory stuff and all the scary stuff because they want people to laugh at horror. You can't take horror seriously, and that kind of ruined horror in the early 90s. It just, we had some good stuff. We had Popcorn. We had, what else? I'm now blanking. I do this. I need to prepare better. We had Popcorn. We had the end of the end of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. The very last Friday the 13th film, Part 9, which was Jason Goes to Hell. I know it's not the last, but it was the last one, that people really identified with as a Friday the 13th film. We had stuff like Puppet Master. We had stuff like Subspecies, which was a great series, but it really was, but it did not get the respect that it deserved. So a couple of things died really in the early 90s. Hair metal music and horror films. But it was the mid-90s when Wes Craven would release Scream that revitalized the horror genre. I know that a lot of people don't like Scream, and a lot of people consider it like a really bad take as a pun on the horror movies, but to be honest, it really did help. I mean, you're not going to see movies like, what was it? Brain Dead. And I'm not talking about Dead Alive. I'm talking about, there's another movie called Brain Dead with Edward Furlong, and you're not going to see that in the theater, because people were just looking at horror as being passé, for lack of a better word. But when Craven came forward and Kevin Williamson came forward with Scream, and Drew Barrymore dies at the very beginning. I'm not giving anything away. If you haven't seen Scream yet, you've been living in a cave. Big name Drew Barrymore dies. You got a couple of people that no one recognizes except for like on teen TV shows like Neve Campbell from Party of Five, Rose McGowan, Matthew Lillard. I mean, no one really knew who these people were. This movie, except for Drew Barrymore and Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox was a little well known, so because she had done other movies and TV series in the 80s, so. But it really launched a lot of things, and the first thing that it launched was because of the whole Scream thing. Everyone was trying to get on board with, hey, let's see what we can do. I know we'll make I Know What You Did Last Summer. We'll get another person from Party of Five and throw them in there. We'll get a bunch of other people. We'll make Urban Legend, which was like the coolest. I really liked the original Urban Legend. Danielle Harris, Natasha Gregson Wagner, Joshua Jackson, and Michael Rosenbaum with hair before he did Smallville. I mean, and what's her nut? The girl from 90210 and the Noxzema commercial. I can't think of her name right now. Oh well. So you had Urban Legend, and Urban Legend was really cool because they tried to take what I Know What You Did Last Summer was and throw a really cool twist on it with Urban Legends. So now you got all these little CW, WB teen stars popping up in horror films, and some of them are really good, but some of them were just crap. I mean, the 90s did give us, the teen horror films, but here's the problem with that. They weren't straightforward horror. The horror film had just become revitalized, but it also became a twist on it. Whereas when you were watching a Friday the 13th film, we know the killer's Jason Voorhees. When we're watching Nightmare on Elm Street, we know it's Freddy Krueger. And when we're watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we know it's Leatherface. But when we're watching Scream, and we're watching Urban Legend, and we're watching I Know What You Did Last Summer, and what was that one with Katie Holmes? Disturbing Behavior. We don't know who the killer is. So horror films became whodunits. They became high gloss mystery films. That was the whole thing. It's like at the very end they go, oh look, it's a live movie of Scooby Doo. It's like, oh look, it's Billy, and oh look, it's so and so, and it's like, take off the mask and you're expecting them to hear, if it weren't for you meddling kids, But no, that didn't happen. But that's about the way it seemed. Yes, Scream is good, and Scream 2 came out, which to me, Scream 2, I think surpasses Scream as a better film. If I put them in order, the way I like them, it would be 2, 1, 4, 3. I actually think the newest one is actually better than the third one. Scream 2 came out, then after that they had to do another I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which was the biggest piece of garbage in my opinion. If anyone couldn't figure out who the killer was in this movie in the first, few minutes, you don't deserve to be watching horror films. It's not, but like I said, it's not even a horror film, it's a whodunit, but still, So the 90s did revitalize horror, and this is the hard thing about doing the 90s, because there was horror, but there wasn't a lot of good horror. There was some stuff, Full Moon had some stuff coming out, and, some little stuff over here, but it was the 2000s, and that's what I'm going to get at in the next segment. The 2000s is the one the revitalization really kicked in. I'm the 13th Wolfman. I'm on the prowl.